Hi, I'd like to speak to you guys about something very important, which is how you speak aggressively to your children or to your partners. You can know that you're doing this, even if it's not something you're doing on purpose, because of the reaction that you're getting. Okay, so how does the brain actually work? When a person is getting shamed, the shame is being called up from childhood. You don't get to be an adult or even a child without childhood. And what happens during childhood? When a parent has to discipline a child and say no, like, no, you can't have the cookie, the kid doesn't know because they're too young. They don't know the difference between no, you can't have the cookie, and no, I don't like you. You don't have a right to exist. I know that sounds pretty dramatic, but that's actually what's happening. And especially if it's done with a face, or if it's done with more, negative energy, the kid really doesn't understand what's going on. And so the kid internalizes this shame, and this is what we're seeing. So when you get into an argument and you try to resolve a conflict with an adult, and they begin to get defensive or angry, rage, guilt, which I'll talk about later, what you're actually seeing is the child that learned this mechanism, of this coping mechanism, when they were shamed. And you'll see just how much shame by their reaction. So nobody wants to shame consciously anybody, and you can't get through childhood without getting disciplined as a kid. So there's no way out of this other than becoming aware of the way you speak. It's very important to learn the difference between aggression and assertiveness. When you're assertive, you're in the adult part of the brain, okay? When you're a child, you're in the child part of the brain. So what you want to do is get into the adult part of the brain when you're in a conflict and you're seeing the child in the other person rising to the surface. Because why? The guilt that the child, adult, is experiencing is then going to turn into withdrawal. You've heard of avoidant, you've heard all these terms. The inability to sustain shame, which is the most painful emotion we have, turns into, I have to get away from this person. I need to distance myself from this person, and I want to go away. So when you're a kid, you go into your room and, hang out in there for a while. Or when you're an adult, you want to just get far away from whatever it is that's causing it. So being more perceptive and aware of what you're looking at as opposed to what you're saying, you need to be able to watch the person's reaction to your speech, especially a child. You walk away from those encounters with the kids going, why did I yell at that kid again? Why did I do that? You don't want to be doing that. So stop. You need to stop doing it, because it is, and I don't mean to pull a guilt trip out. I mean, I have kids also. I know this. The personality is developing within the first 6-7 years of their life, and this is the default shame and the default defense mechanisms, the default rage and anger that's come, and insecurity that's going to come up later on. So while you're raising children, you've got some sort of control over it if you're aware of it. I didn't have that, but you could have that if you're interested in learning how to do that. And certainly you could see that you're doing it with your partner. I mean, that's just so clear, and it's a worthwhile thing to work on. Saying what you have to say without demeaning the person. It's a very important and a very worthwhile trait to acquire.